Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the human ship Frontier's Edge and stared at the screen in front of him. The stars looked peaceful from here, but he knew that was not true. Out there in the dark space between worlds, alien ships moved with bad plans for human colonies. The Zephyrians had been getting bolder lately, and Jake did not like it one bit. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines and the gentle beep of computers doing their work. Jake's crew sat at their stations and watched their screens, carefully. They all knew something was coming. They could feel it in the air like the feeling before a storm hits. Lieutenant Commander Lisa Hayes walked up behind Jake and stopped next to his chair. She had been his second-in-command for 3 years now, and Jake trusted her more than anyone else on the ship. Lisa was smart and tough and never backed down from a fight. She had short brown hair and green eyes that seemed to see everything. When she looked at you, you felt like she could read your thoughts. "Captain," Lisa said in her calm voice, "we're getting a message from New Denver Colony. It's marked urgent." Jake turned to look at her. "Put it through." The main screen changed and showed a man with dirt on his face and fear in his eyes. Behind him, Jake could see smoke and flashing lights. The sound of explosions came through the speakers. "This is Mayor Frank Davis of New Denver Colony," the man said quickly. "We're under attack. Zephyrian raiders hit us 2 hours ago. They came from nowhere with big ships and lots of soldiers. We need help right now. Our defenses won't hold much longer. Please, if anyone can hear this message, we have women and children here. We need help." The screen went dark. Jake felt his jaw. "Get tight. Another human colony under attack. The Zephyrians were getting worse every month. They used to just steal supplies and leave, but now they were hurting people and taking prisoners." "How long to reach New Denver?" Jake asked. 6 hours at full speed," said Carlos Rivera from his station. Carlos was the chief engineer, and he knew the ship better than anyone. He was a big man with kind eyes who could fix anything that broke. "Set course and push the engines as hard as they can go," Jake ordered. "And get me a full tactical report on Zephyrian raider groups in that sector." Lisa moved to the tactical station and started pulling up information. "Captain, based on the attack pattern, this looks like a standard raider force, maybe 20 to 30 soldiers with light ships. Nothing we can't handle." Jake nodded, but something felt wrong about this. The Zephyrians were smart fighters, and they did not usually attack colonies this close to human patrol routes. It seemed too easy, like they wanted humans to come help. "I'll lead the ground team," Jake said. Lisa stopped what she was doing and looked at him. "Sir, that's not necessary. I can handle the ground mission while you coordinate from the ship." "No," Jake said firmly. "I'm going down there myself." "Captain, with respect, that doesn't make tactical sense. You're needed on the bridge to command the overall operation. Let me take a strike team and handle the colony." Jake stood up from his chair and faced Lisa. He could see the frustration in her eyes, but he did not care. Too many good people had died lately because he let others take the dangerous jobs. He would not lose Lisa too. "The decision is made, Commander. I'll lead the ground team." Lisa's face got red and her voice got louder. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. You don't trust me to do my job. Every time there's real danger, you decide you have to go yourself." The bridge got very quiet. Jake could feel his crew watching them, but trying to look like they were not. Dr. Amy Foster, the ship's medical officer, looked up from her station with worried eyes. Carlos pretended to check his engineering reports, but Jake knew he was listening. "This isn't about trust," Jake said. "It's about doing what needs to be done." "No, it's about you thinking I can't handle myself in a fight," Lisa shot back. "I've been in more ground battles than half this crew put together. I know Zephyrian tactics better than anyone on this ship except maybe you. But every time something dangerous comes up, you push me aside like I'm some rookie who just graduated from the academy." Jake felt his own anger rising. "That's not true, and you know it." "Really? When was the last time you let me lead a dangerous mission? When was the last time you trusted me to handle something important without looking over my shoulder?" Jake opened his mouth to answer, but no words came out. Lisa was right. and they both knew it. For the past year, ever since they had lost Lieutenant Peter King in a Zephyrian ambush, Jake had been keeping Lisa away from the most dangerous assignments. "I don't need you babysitting me on every dangerous assignment," Lisa said. Her voice was loud enough that everyone on the bridge could hear. "I'm a grown woman and a trained officer. I can take care of myself." "This conversation is over, Commander," Jake said in his captain voice. "I'm leading the ground team, and that's final." Lisa stared at him for a long moment. Jake could see hurt and anger fighting in her green eyes. Finally, she straightened up and gave him a military salute that looked more like an insult. "Yes, sir," she said coldly. "Permission to prepare the strike teams for your personal mission." "Sir?" "Permission granted," Jake replied. Lisa turned and walked toward the lift that would take her to the lower decks. At the door, she stopped and looked back at him. "You know what, Captain? You're right. You don't need to trust me. Because I don't need you either." The lift doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. Jake stood there looking at the closed doors and feeling like he had just made a terrible mistake. But he could not take it back now, not in front of the crew. Carlos cleared his throat softly. "Captain, we'll reach New Denver in 5.5 hours." "Thank you, Chief," Jake said. He sat back down in his chair and tried to focus on the mission ahead. But he kept thinking about the look in Lisa's eyes when she left the bridge. Dr. Foster came over to his chair. "Jake," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "Maybe you should talk to her." "She'll get over it," Jake said. But even as he said the words, he did not believe them. Something had broken between him and Lisa, and he did not know how to fix it. All he knew was that he could not lose her like he had lost Peter King. He would rather have her angry at him than dead. The ship flew through space toward New Denver Colony, and Jake tried not to think about what Lisa might be planning in the decks below. Lisa Hayes stood in the ship's armory and checked her rifle for the third time. Her hands moved automatically over the weapon, but her mind was somewhere else. She was still angry about the fight with Jake on the bridge, but now she had a plan. She was going to show him that she could handle dangerous missions without his help. Sergeant Tony Clark walked up beside her. Tony was a good Marine with steady hands and a calm mind. He had served under Lisa before and trusted her judgment. His dark skin had scars from old battles, and his eyes showed he had seen too much fighting but never gave up. "Commander, the captains. Briefing is in 10 minutes, Tony said quietly. "You coming?" "No," Lisa said. She looked around the armory to make sure no one else could hear them. "I need you to pick 2 good Marines, quiet ones who can follow orders without asking questions." Tony's eyebrows went up. "Ma'am, what are we talking about here?" "We're going to help those colonists," Lisa said. "But we're not going to sit around waiting for the captain to decide how to do it." "Commander, that sounds a lot like you're planning." "To disobey orders." Lisa stopped checking her rifle and looked directly at Tony. "The captain is going to take the main force and hit the colony from the north side where the distress signal came from. That's exactly what the Zephyrians will expect us to do. But there's another way in from the south through the mining complex. If a small team could get in that way, we could rescue the trapped colonists, while the main force keeps the raiders busy." Tony thought about this for a moment. "That might work, but the captain needs to know about it so he can coordinate with us. The captain made it very clear that he doesn't want my input on tactical decisions," Lisa said. Her voice had an edge to it. "So I'm going to handle this my way." "Ma'am, I really think you should talk to Captain Morrison first." Lisa picked up her helmet and started toward the door. "Are you with me or not, Sergeant?" Tony looked at her for a long moment. Then he sighed and grabbed his own gear. "I'll get Corporal Nina Walsh. She's good in tight spots and doesn't ask too many questions." "Good. Meet me in Shuttle Bay 2 in 20 minutes. And Tony, don't tell anyone else about this." Lisa left the armory and headed toward the shuttle bay. She knew she was taking a big risk, but she was tired of Jake treating her like she was made of glass. She had been fighting Zephyrians since before Jake even got his captain's bars. She could handle one little rescue mission. in Shuttle Bay. 2. Lisa ran through her plan one more time. The mining complex on the south side of New Denver Colony connected to the main settlement through underground tunnels. If her small team could get in through the mines, they could reach the trapped colonists without fighting through the main Zephyrian force. It was dangerous, but it could work. Tony and Nina Walsh showed up right on time. Nina was a small woman with blonde hair and sharp blue eyes. She moved like a cat and could shoot better than anyone Lisa had ever seen. Nina had grown up on a colony world and knew how to survive in tough situations. "Commander, Sergeant Clark filled me in," Nina said. "I think your plan could work. But what if we run into more Zephyrians than we can handle?" "Then we radio for help and try to stay alive until it arrives," Lisa said. "But I don't think that will happen. The raiders will focus on the main settlement where the valuable stuff is. The mining complex is probably empty except for any colonists who might be hiding there." Lisa started up the shuttle and ran through the pre-flight check. "Strap in. We're going to launch as soon as the captain takes his team down." They waited in the dark shuttle and listened to the ship's communication system. Lisa heard Jake's voice giving orders to his strike team. He sounded calm and professional like always. Part of her wished she was going with him, but she pushed that thought away. She had to prove she could do this on her own. "Main strike team launching," came the voice from the bridge. "That's our cue," Lisa said. She fired up the shuttle engines and launched into space. The flight to New Denver took 30 minutes. Lisa kept the shuttle's systems on low power so they would be harder to detect. As they got closer to the planet, she could see smoke rising from the colony and the bright flashes of weapons fire. "There," Nina said, pointing at her scanner. "I'm seeing Zephyrian ships in orbit around the main settlement. Looks like 3, light cruisers and some smaller patrol boats." "Any sign of the captain's team?" Tony asked. Lisa checked her own scanner. "They're moving in from the north just like I thought they would. The Zephyrians are already repositioning to meet them." Lisa flew the shuttle around to the south side of the planet and found the mining complex. It was built into the side of a mountain and looked quiet from space. No ships, no movement, no signs of fighting. "Too quiet," Nina said. "I don't like it." "Maybe the colonists got lucky and the raiders didn't find this place yet," Lisa said. But she had the same bad feeling that Nina did. Something was not right about this. She landed the shuttle in a clearing about half a mile from the mining complex. The 3 humans grabbed their gear and started walking toward the mines. The air on New Denver was thin but breathable. The ground was rocky and covered with strange purple plants that Lisa had never seen before. They reached the entrance to the mining complex without any trouble. The big metal doors were closed, but not locked. Tony and Nina took positions on either side of the door while Lisa opened it slowly. Inside, the complex was dark and empty. Their footsteps echoed off the metal walls as they moved deeper into the tunnels. Emergency lights gave off a red glow that made everything look like it was covered in blood. "Hello?" Lisa called out. "Is anyone here? We're human military. We're here to help." A voice came from somewhere ahead of them. "Here! We're here! Please help us!" Lisa and her team moved toward the voice and found a group of about 20 colonists hiding in a storage room. They were mostly women and children with a few older men. They looked scared and tired, but not hurt. "Thank God," said a woman with gray hair. "We thought the Zephyrians would find us for sure. They hit the main settlement 2 hours ago, but we made it to the tunnels before they could catch us." "Are there any more colonists trapped in the main settlement?" Lisa asked. "Yes," said one of the men. "Mayor Davis and maybe 50 others are, trapped in the town hall. The Zephyrians have them surrounded." Lisa felt good about her decision to come here. Her plan was working. She could get these people to safety and then help Jake rescue the others. "All right, everyone, we're going to get you out of here," she said. "Stay close and do exactly what we tell you." But as they started back toward the entrance, Nina's scanner started beeping. "Commander," Nina said quietly, "I'm picking up movement outside. Big movement." Lisa looked at her own scanner and felt her heart sink. 20 red dots were moving toward the mining complex from multiple directions. The Zephyrians had found them. How did they know we were here? Tony asked. Lisa realized with growing horror that they had walked into a trap. The Zephyrians had been waiting for someone to try to rescue the colonists in the mines. They had probably been watching the whole complex since the attack started. "We need to get back to the shuttle," Lisa said. But even as she said it, she knew it was probably too late. The red dots on the scanner were already between them and their escape route. The colonists looked at her with frightened eyes, waiting for her to tell them what to do. 20 scared people depending on her to keep them alive. And now she was. Trapped underground with only 2 Marines to help her. Lisa thought about Jake and his main strike team. They were probably fighting their own battle at the main settlement and had no idea that she was in trouble. She had wanted to prove she could handle a dangerous mission on her own. Now it looked like she might have gotten them all killed. Jake Morrison crouched behind a broken wall in the center of New Denver Colony and tried to figure out how everything had gone so wrong so fast. His strike team of 12 Marines was pinned down in the town square by Zephyrian forces that seemed to be everywhere at once. The aliens had more soldiers than the reports said they would have, and their weapons were better too. "Captain, I count at least 40 hostiles in the buildings around us," said Marine Lieutenant Ben Cooper. Ben was young but smart and had kept his head cool even when the shooting started. "They've got us surrounded and they're using some kind of new plasma rifles. Our body armor isn't stopping them very well." Jake looked around at his team. 3 Marines were already wounded, and everyone else was running low on ammunition. They had walked into what was supposed to be a simple rescue mission and found a full military operation waiting for them. "Any word from Commander Hayes?" Jake asked into his radio. "No, sir," came the reply from the ship. "Her team went dark about 20 minutes ago. Last position was near the mining complex on the south side." Jake felt cold fear in his stomach. Lisa was in trouble and he had no way to help her. He had been so worried about keeping her safe that he had let her walk into danger alone. A new voice came over the communication system. It was speaking human words, but with the strange accent that all Zephyrians had when they tried to talk like humans. "Human commanders, this is War Leader Kethvar of the Stormcast. I know you can hear me." Jake had heard that name before. Kethvar was one of the most dangerous Zephyrian military leaders. He was smart and cruel, and he had killed a lot of human soldiers over the years. "I have studied your species for a long time," the alien voice continued. "I know how you think and how you fight. You humans always try to save each other. It makes you weak, but it also makes you predictable." Jake did not like where this was going. "Right now, I have your female commander and her small team trapped in the mining complex with 20 human civilians. I also have your main force trapped in this town square. Both groups are surrounded by my warriors, and both groups will die unless you do what I tell you to do." The communication system crackled, and then they heard Lisa's voice. She sounded calm, but Jake could hear the tension underneath. "Jake, don't listen to him. We can handle ourselves down here. Just focus on your mission." Then Kethvar's voice came back. "As you can hear, your female commander is still alive, for now, but my warriors are moving into the mining complex as we speak. How long do you think she can protect 20 civilians with only 2 Marines to help her?" Jake looked around at his trapped team and made a decision he hoped he would not regret. "What do you want?" "I want you to surrender," Kethvar said. "Both of your forces will lay down their weapons and submit to capture. In return, I will spare the lives of the human civilians. And if we don't, then everyone dies. The civilians, your soldiers, everyone. But I will make sure the civilians die first so you can listen to their screams." Jake felt sick. This was exactly the kind of impossible choice that commanders had nightmares about. If he surrendered, the Zephyrians would probably kill them all anyway, but if he kept fighting, innocent people would definitely die. "I need time to think about it," Jake said. "You have 10 minutes," Kethvar replied. After that, my warriors begin killing the civilians one by one until you decide. The communication system went quiet. Jake looked at his Marines and saw his own fear reflected in their faces. Ben Cooper crawled over to him. "Captain, this has to be a trap. Zephyrians don't usually take prisoners." "I know," Jake said. "But we can't let those civilians die." "What about Commander Hayes? She wouldn't want us to surrender because of her." Jake thought about Lisa and the fight they had on the bridge. She had been right about everything. She was a good officer, and she could take care of herself. He had been treating her like she was fragile when she was actually one of the strongest people he knew. But that did not change the fact that she was trapped underground with scared civilians depending on her to keep them alive. "Sir," came a voice from Jake's radio. It was Carlos Rivera calling from the ship. "I'm reading massive Zephyrian reinforcements moving toward both your positions. This looks like a full battalion of their Stormcast warriors." Jake closed his eyes. A full battalion meant at least 200 elite Zephyrian soldiers. His 12 Marines and Lisa's team of 3 could not possibly fight that many enemies and protect civilians at the same time. "Captain," Ben Cooper said quietly, "I think I know what's really going on here. This whole thing was a setup from the beginning. They attacked the colony to bring us here. They wanted to capture human military officers, especially senior ones, like you and Commander Hayes." Jake realized Ben was right. The Zephyrians had been planning this for weeks or maybe months. They had studied human military responses and figured out exactly how to trap them. The distress call from Mayor Davis had been real, but the aliens had been ready for human ships to come help. "Commander Hayes was right about the tactical situation," Jake said. "A small team through the mining complex was actually a good plan. But Kethvar was ready for that too." Jake's radio crackled again. This time it was Lisa's voice, and she sounded like she was in the middle of a fight. "Jake, they're coming into the tunnels. We're going to try to hold them off, but there are too many of them. The colonists are scared, and some of them are hurt." "Lisa, just hold on. I'm going to figure something out." "No," Lisa said firmly. "Don't you dare do something stupid because you think you need to rescue me. I can handle this." But even as she said it, Jake could hear the sound of energy weapons firing in the background. Lisa was fighting for her life and trying to protect 20 civilians at the same time. Kethvar's voice came back on the radio. 5 minutes left, human captain. I can hear the battle in the mining complex from here. Your female commander is fighting well, but my warriors are very good at what they do. Soon she will run out of ammunition, and then she will run out of luck." Jake felt trapped and helpless. Every option led to people dying. If he surrendered, the Zephyrians would probably kill them all. If he kept fighting, the civilians would die for sure, and probably Lisa too. He looked at his Marines and saw them waiting for orders. These were good people who trusted him to make the right choice. But he did not know what the right choice was anymore. "Captain," Ben Cooper said, "whatever you decide, we're with you." Jake nodded and tried to think of a plan that might save everyone. But time was running out, and the sound of fighting from the mining complex was getting louder. Lisa Hayes pressed her back against the cold metal wall of the mining tunnel and tried to count how many enemies were left. Her rifle was almost empty, and Tony Clark was bleeding from a wound in his shoulder. Nina Walsh was at the other end of the tunnel trying to keep the Zephyrian soldiers from getting closer to the frightened colonists. "Commander, we can't hold this position much longer," Tony said through gritted teeth. "They're going to break through soon." Lisa looked down the tunnel toward the storage room where the 20 civilians were hiding. She could hear some of the children crying and their parents trying to keep them quiet. These people had trusted her to protect them, and now she was going to let them down. Her radio crackled and she heard Jake's voice. "Lisa, I'm going to make a run for your position. If I can break through with my team, we might be able to help you fight your way out." Lisa felt anger flash through her. Even now, when everything was falling apart, Jake still thought he needed to rescue her like she was some helpless person who could not take care of herself. "Jake, don't you dare throw your life away because of our fight," she said into the radio. "I meant what I said. I don't need you to rescue me." But even as she said those words, Lisa was forming a desperate plan in her mind. Through her helmet display, she could see the layout of the entire mining complex. The tunnels connected to the main colony settlement through a series of maintenance shafts that ran under the buildings. If someone could get through those shafts, they might be able to reach the colony's command center. Lisa remembered something from the tactical briefing. Zephyrian military units followed a strict command structure. If their leader was killed or captured, the rest of the soldiers would retreat according to their military rules. War leader Kethvar would be commanding the battle from somewhere safe where he could see both trapped human forces. "Nina," Lisa called out, "can you hold them here for a few more minutes?" "I can try," Nina replied, "but we're almost out of ammunition." Lisa looked at Tony's wounded shoulder. "Tony, I need you to take command here. Keep the colonists safe and try to buy as much time as you can." Tony's eyes went wide. "Commander, where are you going?" "I'm going to end this fight," Lisa said. She pulled up the schematics of the colony on her helmet display. "The command center is directly above us, about 200 meters north. If I can get there and take out Kethvar, his soldiers will have to retreat." "That's suicide," Tony said. "You can't fight through 200 Zephyrian soldiers by yourself." "I'm not going to fight through them. I'm going around them," Lisa pointed to the maintenance shafts on her display. "These shafts run under the whole colony. They're too small for Zephyrian soldiers, but a human could crawl through them. If I can get into the shaft system, I can reach the command center from below." Tony shook his head. "Even if you make it there, Kethvar will have guards. You'll be walking into another trap." "Maybe," Lisa said. "But it's better than sitting here waiting to die." Lisa's radio crackled again with Jake's voice. "Lisa, hold on. I'm coming to get you." Lisa could hear the desperation in Jake's voice, and she knew he was about to do something stupid and brave that would probably get him killed. Jake was a good captain and a good man, but sometimes he let his feelings make tactical decisions for him. "No," Lisa said firmly into the radio. "Jake, listen to me carefully. You are not going to sacrifice your team and yourself because you think you failed to protect me. That's not how this works." "Lisa, I can't just leave you there." "Yes, you can. And you will, because that's what good officers do. They make the hard choices that keep the most people alive." Lisa started moving toward the maintenance shaft access panel. "Tony, you're in command here. Keep our people alive as long as you can. Nina, give me covering fire while I get to that access panel." "Commander, please don't do this," Tony said. "There has to be another way." Lisa looked at Tony and Nina and saw the same expression she had seen on Jake's face so many times. They were afraid of losing her, and that fear was making them want to do something stupid to try to save her. "This is exactly what I was talking about on the bridge," Lisa said. "Everyone always thinks they need to protect me, but I'm a soldier just like you. I knew the risks when I put on this uniform." Lisa reached the access panel and started opening it. The maintenance shaft was small and dark, but she could fit through it if she crawled. "Besides," she said with a small smile, "Jake trained me well. I know how to take care of myself." Her radio crackled one more time with Jake's voice. "Lisa, whatever you're planning, please be careful." "I will," she said. "And Jake, when this is over, we need to talk about how you treat your officers. I don't need you to be my protector. I need you to be my captain and trust me to do my job." Lisa crawled into the maintenance shaft and started moving north toward the command center. The shaft was barely wide enough for her shoulders, and she had to push her rifle ahead of her as she crawled. Behind her, she could hear Nina and Tony still fighting to keep the Zephyrians away from the colonists. The shaft was dark and full of pipes and cables that scraped against her armor as she moved. Her helmet light showed the way ahead, but everything looked the same. Metal walls, metal floor, metal ceiling. She tried not to think about what would happen if she got lost in here or if the shaft was too damaged to get through. After what felt like hours, but was probably only 20 minutes, Lisa saw light ahead. She had reached the command center. Through a ventilation grate, she could see into a large room with computers and displays showing the battle. Zephyrian soldiers stood at various stations, and in the center of the room, looking at a big tactical display was War Leader Kethvar himself. Kethvar was bigger than most Zephyrians, with dark blue skin and the ritual scars that marked him as a member of the Stormcast. He wore elaborate armor that probably cost more than Lisa's entire ship, and he carried an energy blade at his side that glowed with deadly power. Lisa could see through the big windows that Jake was still trapped in the town square with his Marines. The Zephyrian forces had them completely surrounded and were slowly closing in. If she was going to do something, it had to be now. She checked her rifle one more time. She had maybe 20 shots left. Not much to take on an entire command center, full of enemy soldiers. But maybe she would not need to fight all of them. Maybe she just needed to fight one. Lisa took a deep breath and prepared to kick through the ventilation grate. She thought about Jake and how he had always tried to keep her safe. She thought about Tony and Nina fighting to protect the colonists. She thought about all the human colonies that would be attacked if Kethvar was allowed to continue his war. "I don't need you to rescue me," she whispered to herself, "but I do need to rescue everyone else." Then she kicked through the grate and dropped into the command center ready to fight. Jake Morrison burst through the door of the colony command center with his energy blade in his hand and murder in his eyes. He had fought his way through 12 Zephyrian soldiers to get here, and his armor was cracked and smoking from plasma fire. Behind him, Ben Cooper and 3 other Marines provided covering fire as more enemy soldiers tried to follow them into the building. War Leader Kethvar stood in the center of the command room like he had been waiting for this moment his whole life. The alien commander was huge, almost 7 feet tall, with ritual scars covering his dark blue face. His elaborate armor made him look like some ancient warrior king, and the energy blade in his hand hummed with deadly power. "So the human captain finally arrives," Kethvar said in his strange accent. "I was beginning to think you were too much of a coward to face me directly." Jake did not waste time with words. He launched himself at the alien commander with his blade raised high. The 2 fighters crashed together in the middle of the room, and the sound of energy weapons clashing filled the air. Kethvar was bigger and stronger, but Jake was faster and more desperate. The human captain had been fighting for 3 hours straight, and he was running on anger and determination. Every time he thought about Lisa trapped in the mining tunnels, he fought harder. "Your female commander fought well," Kethvar said as he blocked one of Jake's attacks. "But she is dead now, along with all those civilians she tried to protect." Jake felt rage explode in his chest. He attacked with everything he had, his blade moving so fast it was just a blur of light. But Kethvar was an expert fighter who had killed hundreds of enemies in personal combat. He gave ground slowly and looked for an opening to strike back. The 2 commanders circled each other in the ruined command center. Broken computers sparked around them, and the big tactical display showed the battle still raging outside. Jake could see his Marines fighting desperately in the town square while Zephyrian forces closed in from all sides. "You humans are so predictable," Kethvar said. "You always let your emotions control your tactics. That is why you will lose this war." Jake feinted left and then struck right, trying to get past the alien's guard. But Kethvar saw the move coming and countered with a strike that almost took Jake's head off. The human captain stumbled backward and felt blood running down his face from a shallow cut. "I studied your military files before this battle," Kethvar continued. "I know about you and your female commander. I know how you feel about her. That emotional attachment made both of you weak and easy to manipulate." Jake attacked again, but he was getting tired and his moves were becoming sloppy. Kethvar was wearing him down with superior reach and strength. The alien commander's blade seemed to be everywhere at once. blocking every attack and striking back with deadly precision. "She trusted you to keep her safe," Cathvar said as he pressed his advantage. "And you failed her, just like you will. Fail all the humans who depend on you." Jake's foot slipped on some debris and he went down on one knee. Cathvar raised his blade for the killing strike, and Jake knew he was about to die. He thought about Lisa and how their last conversation had been an argument. He thought about all the people he had failed to protect. Then the ceiling exploded. Lisa Hayes came crashing through the skylight in a shower of glass and metal, falling directly toward war leader Cathvar. She had her rifle in her hands, and she was firing as she fell. The alien commander looked up in shock as the human female dropped out of the sky like some kind of avenging angel. "I don't need you," Lisa shouted as she slammed into Cathvar's back and knocked him away from Jake. But this time the words did not sound like rejection. They sounded like a battle cry. The three fighters rolled across the floor in a tangle of arms and weapons. Lisa's surprise attack had saved Jake's life, but now she was locked in close combat with a Zephyrian warrior who was twice her size. Cathvar tried to throw her off his back, but Lisa held on tight and kept shooting at his armor with her rifle. Jake scrambled to his feet and joined the fight. Now it was 2 humans against 1 alien, and the odds were much more even. Lisa's agility and Jake's strength worked together in perfect coordination. When Cathvar struck at one of them, the other would attack from a different angle. "How did you get here?" Jake asked as he blocked one of Cathvar's attacks. "Maintenance shafts," Lisa replied while dodging the alien's blade. "I told you I could take care of myself." The 3-way battle raged across the command center. Cathvar was a master warrior, but he had never faced 2 human opponents working together like this. Every time he focused on Jake, Lisa would strike from behind. Every time he turned to deal with Lisa, Jake would press the attack. "You think your teamwork will save you?" Cathvar snarled. "I have killed dozens of human warriors." "Maybe," Jake said. "But you never killed these 2 human warriors." Lisa rolled under one of Cathvar's strikes and came up with her knife in her hand. She slashed at the alien commander's leg and drew dark blue blood. Cathvar roared in pain and anger and swung his blade in a wide arc that would have cut Lisa in half if Jake had not tackled her out of the way. "Thanks," Lisa said. "Don't mention it," Jake replied. They got back to their feet and attacked together. Jake went high while Lisa went low. Cathvar tried to block both attacks, but he could not cover every angle. Lisa's knife found a gap in his armor while Jake's blade struck his weapon arm. The alien commander's energy blade fell from his wounded hand and clattered across the floor. Cathvar looked at the 2 humans standing over him, and for the first time since the battle started, he looked afraid. "Your forces will surrender now," Jake said. "According to Zephyrian military law, when a war leader falls in combat, his warriors must withdraw." Cathvar glared at them with hatred in his eyes. "This is not over. Other war leaders will come for revenge." "Let them come," Lisa said. "We'll be ready." Cathvar activated some kind of device on his armor and spoke rapidly in the Zephyrian language. Through the windows, Jake could see the alien forces beginning to pull back from their positions around the town square. Within an hour, all the Zephyrian ships had left orbit and the colony was safe. Jake and Lisa stood on the steps of the command center and watched their Marines helping the rescued colonists. Tony Clark had his arm in a sling, but he was alive. Nina Walsh was already planning the security sweep to make sure no enemies were hiding anywhere. "I owe you an apology," Jake said finally. "Yes, you do," Lisa replied. "But I owe you one too. I should have talked to you about my plan instead of going off on my own." "Your plan worked, though. If you had not reached Cathvar when you did, he would have killed me." Lisa looked at him with a small smile. "That's the point, Jake. We work better together. Not because either of us needs rescuing, but because we complement each other's strengths." Jake thought about this for a moment. "I was so worried about losing you that I forgot you're one of the best officers I've ever served with." I don't need you to protect me, Lisa said, but I do need you to trust me, and I need to trust you too. When you were fighting Kethvar, alone I realized that I need my captain just as much as he needs his second in command, Jake nodded. Partners, then. Not protector and protected. Partners, Lisa agreed. They stood together and watched the sun set over New Denver Colony. Tomorrow, there would be reports to write and damage to assess. There would be new missions and new dangers. But tonight, two human officers had proven once again that the bonds between people who choose to stand together are stronger than any weapon or strategy. In the distance, Jake could see the Frontier's Edge waiting in orbit to take them home. Carlos Rivera would want a full report on the ship's systems, and Dr. Amy Foster would want to check everyone for injuries. The crew would want to hear the story of how their captain and first officer had defeated a Zephyrian war leader in single combat. But right now, Jake was just glad that Lisa was alive and safe, and that they had figured out how to work together again. Sometimes the most important victories were not against alien enemies, but against the fears and doubts that could destroy partnerships from within. Ready to go home, Commander? Jake asked. Ready when you are, Captain, Lisa replied. And together, they walked toward the shuttle that would take them back to their ship and their crew and whatever adventures waited for them among the stars.